speakers, with all speakers shall clearly state their name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with only one speaking opportunity. Board members will not respond to comments or questions. The chair may end comment period at his discretion, and prior authorization is required for distribution of materials or to approach the board. The time is for public comment concerning City of Newcastle Public Works. All right, seeing none, I'll move to item number 4, consent agenda. Is there any member of the board that desires any item be removed from the consent agenda and addressed individually? All right, seeing none, item number 4, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent.
I second.
Motion second for approval of the consent agenda.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 5, discussion of possible action on any items removed from the consent agenda. Be no action on that agenda item. Item number 6, discussion of possible action on adjustment of utility accounts. Item number 6A, account number 01-2303-00. That service address is Northwest 14th and North Car, Jesus Alive Gym. Is there anybody from Jesus Alive Gym present? Yes. Please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
James Frizzell.
All right, Mr. Frizzell, looks like you had a water leak.
Amen. Big one.
All right, so what happened?
Well, we have a gym there, and that's where it's at.
Okay.
And the last thing that was there was a Christmas party. And we didn't go out there for a couple of weeks afterwards. And when we went out there, a stool was running, and it was running wide open.
Wow.
It has been repaired.
Very good. Have you brought repair bills to the city?
Well, I gave them the Vita.
Very good. That's what we need. That's what we needed to know. And so it looked like this was primarily on the bill for January of this year.
Yes.
All right. Now I will make a motion to adjust the January utility bill down to the average of the prior 12 months.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
You can go ahead and second it. Here, before we vote, is that the one that also had a late charge applied to it? Does that automatically, does your motion automatically cover
Yes.
that? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sorry.
Are you good?
A motion second for adjusting the utility account.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Frizzell. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Item number 6B, account number 06-2024-02, service address 2300 West Highway 130, in the Delmas. Is Ms. Delmas a representative present?
Yes.
Please state.
My name is Grant Delmas.
Yep. All right, so you had a leak, I see?
Very big, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it. When did you repair the leak?
Should have the receipt for whenever I bought everything. That would have been the 25th of January. It's whenever I bought all the parts to repair.
Okay. It doesn't look like, there could be a possibility that would carry over from the February bill. Because the usage is still showing incredibly high at the February bill. Do you think you had it repaired before the 15th of February?
I think so.
Okay. Well, tell you what, we'll adjust the February bill, and if you have any other issues, get with Vita, and we'll still high then.
Okay.
The motion to adjust the February utility bill to the average of the prior 12 months.
A second.
Motion second for adjustment of utility account.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you all. Y'all have a good night.
Item number 7, discussion of possible action authorization for Newcastle property owner at 216 North County Line Road, connect to the Blanchard Water System, Tim Plummer.
I don't know if Ms. Plummer is present tonight. Okay.
Oh, please approach the podium, Ms. Plummer.
So this is one of those areas, of course, that we don't have water on the county line. And this has happened before. past, we've had residents on our side of county line that would request water service through Blanchard.
Blanchard's willing to connect you.
What I've been told is I have to get it approved through you guys, take the approval to them, and they have to go through the same process that you're doing.
I have no issue with it.
We'll make a motion to approve item 7.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 7.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Dan Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes, thank you very much.
You'll probably move like lightning after this.
Yay. So do I pick something up from you guys or?
I'll tell you, we'll give you a letter.
Okay,
Yeah, I will have, the city clerk there take care of it.
alrighty, thank you.
Good luck.
Have a good evening. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on approval of installation of the lime slurry system for discharge and metering of hydrated lime into a slurry tank at the Newcastle Water Plant, and approval of quote from Sodomate Inc. with or without recommended optional equipment.
The lime equipment that we have out there at the water plant currently has been in place most likely since the plant was actually built. So about 40, 45 years in place. It has no agitation system in it, so the employees would have to crawl up a ladder or something to get to the top of this silo that sits up there and try to stir it with. And it's a huge safety hazard. Not only that, but the whole lime system itself is failing, and actually, I mean, the line bust is unbelievable because it's not contained like it should be. With inside this room, it literally looks like a hazmat zone when you walk in there and see this through the windows. So anyway, this will help out our system. It improves safety for the employees, but making sure that we get the lime injected into that system or water system when it's being treated before it goes out to the public, which we were doing. It's just more cumbersome with what they have. But this system here also has the agitator inside that'll keep that stirred up like it should.
They want to draw short sticks anymore?
They won't have to go sorts.
Great. So I think the optional equipment, what is the optional equipment?
Well, you see in that packet too, it's like it's computerized and it measures the lime and all that stuff. We're not needing that.
We're not needing
We
the
don't need it?
We do not need it. We're just asking for the actual lime system itself, not the electronics and all the fancy bells and whistles on it.
So we're approving the purchase of that?
Yes,
And which part of it, what's the dollar amount?
just a little over 92,000 with.
We have the 92,000 show.
Yeah.
All right, I see.
92,900.
We're not doing option 1, we're option 2, but we are doing option 1, but not 2. It looks like not 2, it's that cabinet thing.
But it's part of the cost.
Option 1 is,
Yeah, the cabinet
And
would
wheels
would not be a piece of it.
Oh,
That $70,000 cabinet would not be a piece of it.
okay.
Yeah.
but we are gonna do option 1. Trying to figure out what option 1 is. Second, skid mounted peristaltic for redundancy. Pump flush, it looks like another 20-some thousand.
Well, basically what we're having done is the 74,000 complete retrofit for hydrated lime silo,
Okay, so no
mechanical
option 1
discharge,
there.
yes,
Okay.
feed and slurry system.
Are we doing the delivery?
We are doing the delivery, yes.
Okay. So,
And then installation is a piece of this.
So the 92.9, that page is what we're,
okay. Yeah,
Correct.
26.
26.
yeah, 26.
Cool, okay. Motion to approve agenda item 8, 92,900.
I'll second.
Motion second for approval of agenda item number 8.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Dan Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 9, discussion and possible action on establishment of commercial impact fees for water and sanitary sewer along the State Highway 9 corridor.
We have, council has been talking about There's been some discussion here among the members about a potential sewer plant, NBR plant, at 6209 that will service this Highway 9 corridor all the way down to Highway 9 and I-35 or part of the area. Basically, all we're asking here tonight is not to establish actual impact fees, but to set a maximum of what impact fees would be established. We don't want to see impact fees rise above 20,000 down there for any of this area on Highway 9. However, we do feel like that impact fees need to be a little more than what impact fees are around the rest of the city.
Right.
We do have some, put it this way, we do have some opportunities along the Highway 9 corridor in the very near future, and we need to be able to establish a maximum impact fee, if you will, not to exceed, that gives us the opportunity to go ahead and study this a little bit further and determine what that impact fee needs to be, thereby bringing that back to council. But it's imperative that a maximum is set immediately based on the opportunities that we potentially have on Highway 9.
You think 20,000 would be a baseline? for-
Yes. Yes, I do.
That'd be a combination of both sewer and.
That would be a combination of both, correct? 10,000 for each,
Oh, combination.
yes.
Okay. That's good news. Things are happening.
I think I understand that. I don't know if I can explain it again, but I think
Somebody needs
I
an
think,
estimate.
I think I understand the reasoning that we need to have it as a reference point. So I support that.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, would you like a motion on that?
Yes,
yet?
sir.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9, the establishment of commercial impact fees, water and sanitary, not to exceed $20,000.
Motion second for approval of item number 9, not to exceed $20,000 for both water and sewer. Combined.
Mark Pelton.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Martha Burman.
Yes. Item number 10, monthly treasurer's report.
The end of February, which would be 66.7%. The city side is running ahead of the expectations, the overall city side, not individual departments, but the overall expenditure of the city side is 77.1%. Our revenues are also ahead at 79.5%. Part of the reason our revenues and expenses are running ahead are the big draw deposits and payments that we get for our construction loans. So that's a big part of it. On the NPWA side, the execution rate for expenses is 67.9. And the revenues, they are also running ahead. Kevin and I sat down a couple weeks ago, and this is the first time I've been able to do this, but we reviewed all revenue items. So the budget amendment is rather long for this month because we adjusted those revenues to the realized and projected expectations since we've got 9 months down. So that will put us a little more in line with where, like, next month I should be reporting closer to our execution rate on revenues. Right now we're way far ahead. The fire department tax fund brought in $930,000. We have spent a little over $1.3 million. That covers about 68 point. That tax fund that we get in is right now covering about 68.7 of what we spent on the fire department. So that's quite a bit. Our ARPA money, we've spent $328,000 of the second half. We still have $610,000 to go. Still making our payments on our wastewater update. Wastewater mod update. We paid 12 draws to Lingo for our fire station, totaling 8.2 million. We have about 1.8 million to go, almost 1.9, I guess. We paid 11 draws to Newcastle for the animal shelter, totaling almost 3.1 million. We have one more to go there. The contract did finish under 237,000 under. So that was kind of nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
We paid 6 draws for the new wastewater plant, almost 6.5 million so far. We paid 2 draws for our OWRB meter loan, almost 2.1 million. In the month of February, sales and use tax came in at 962,000, almost 963,000. 740,000 of that was sales, with 223 being used. Compared to where we budgeted to be, we are 15.7 higher. Again, Kim and I amended all revenue, so next month that budget will be more in line, will be closer. We're 9.1% higher than this same point last year, and 17% higher than this point in FY21. This month in February, we received 2 grant funds. We received $2,500 for the Emergency Management Program grant, and almost $7,200 from the Department of Public Safety. The Department of Public Safety, where officers are working overtime to make our streets more safe. This month, this particular reimbursement also includes a new radar. There was criteria where the Department of Public Safety grant could purchase equipment, so they did the new radar for that. So that was part of that one. We did have our loan proceeds coming in at $980,000. Kind of seems to y'all, but it's also part of our revenue and expenses that come in now that are reflected as such anyway. Our quarterly CD interest came in February because of those CDs we bought last May. The interest came in, or we have gained $109,000 in interest alone on those CDs. So that's a real nice thing that we get to do with that money. Our current, well, I say nice, we're just going to pay down some of our loans. Yeah. Our current indebtedness is now sitting at almost 19 million, it's 18.6. Just want to remind you that I do include as we go through the construction loans, even when they're not finalized, just so you have a good picture of where we're sitting at. The city fund balances are, here's a breakdown, 2.84 million in general fund. Capital improvement tax fund is 2.70 million. Economic development tax fund is 35,000. Cemetery care, 38,000. Parks capital improvement, 156,000. The fire station fund is almost 3 million. Admin and technology, 256,000. Grant cost share, 2.55 million. Transportation impact fee, 194,000. On the NPWA side, those fund balances are as follows. The Public Works Authority has almost 3.1 million. Water impact fee has 1.57 million. Wastewater impact fee has 824,000. Wastewater plant fund now has 7.18 million, and the meter fund has 223,000. Are there any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Item number 11, general manager's comments.
Just a couple of quick things. The current sewer plant is doing much better. I know we discussed that, and there has been information that has been circulated regarding that current plant as well. It's doing a lot better. We're still not where we need to be, but we are making very, very good progress on that. Just one example, I receive daily reports now from the wastewater department on the numbers that they pull every day from that plant. I got one today, and the dissolved oxygen DO needs to be at least about a 2 or a 3.2 on that. It's been, I don't know how many months since we've even been close to the 2. So they've got things working a little differently out there. Wall engineering has been a tremendous help on getting everything reestablished out there like it should be, and hopefully keep this thing going for a couple of years till we can get the new plant online. They got the guys came in on Saturday and completed the new sewer line on Highway 62 going to the fire station. So now Lingo Construction can flush the system at that new station and test all the fixtures and things of that nature, and make sure they're ready to go for full inspection. So they're busy. We still got some engineering that's going on out on Southwest 24th. We're actually on the water line on Southwest 24th. We had actually got approved to engineer $47,000 from Oak Hollow down to Ross Drive on Southwest 24th. We're going to back that up from Oak Hollow to Twisted Oak, because come to find out, when they got out there and started researching that a little closer, there is no water line between Twisted Oak and Oak Hollow. So I think it's another 900 feet or so of engineering that they're gonna go ahead and put into that. Can't remember the cost. It's a minimal cost to include that, so we can have all that engineered back to Twisted Oak down to Ross Drive. So, little by little, we're pushing, getting things done in the water and wastewater.
Long term, the goal of getting that 12 inch all the way over to Highway 62, provide that loop that we desperately need in that section of town. So hopefully, be the long-term solution to some low water pressure in the Coachella area and some other areas of town. So, bit by bit.
Kevin, looked like on Highway 76, it looks like work has been done. Our water line on that west side of the highway.
It is, that's the relocation for ODOT that we're having to do, and of course the upgrade is what we're upsized.
Will we do that work, or will someone else come out and do it?
No, it's contracted.
It is.
Those are contractors out there.
Okay.
I did receive an email, or at least I was looking at emails going back and forth between Sullivan's and ODOT this past week. ODOT had asked the question, when does this project plan to be done? Because it sounded like on the email thread that they were going to let Highway 76 project, the widening, this September. So they wanted to make sure that our project was done and out of the way. It sounds like it's gonna move toward the end of this, maybe fourth quarter maybe.
And the answer to them is
Yeah,
yes.
I never saw another answer come back from Sullivan's. So, but things are moving.
Thank you.
All right, item number 12, trustee comments. I got one quick comment. I kind of the interesting deal. I was cleaning out my in-law's attic, found a report from Code Associates from 1981 of water solutions for the city of Newcastle prior to building the plant that included the potential of building a lake to serve water. It's very, very neat. Very. Well, I gave it to the city hall to look through, and it's pretty neat. But one of the things that caught my eye in that is they anticipated by 2000 the price of water to be in excess of or around $4 a thousand. You know, and so they anticipated water costs going up significantly quicker than they actually have. So I feel good that we've been able to keep the overall cost of water down to what they thought in 1981 was going to be costing. So,
How big a lake was that going to need to be?
Where was it be?
the data's in there if you want to come look at it. I don't remember actually. We're going to take about $11 or $12 million that I think in 1981 cost to buy the land.
Wow.
To establish the lake. So
Where were they gonna put it?
I can't remember. I'll have to look at it.
It might cost a little bit more than that for that man land.
Yeah, I probably won't get it bought today.
Yeah.
Any other trustee comments? Item number 13 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second for adjournment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. This time I'll call the March 11th, 2024 meeting of the Newcastle City Council to order. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Barnhill.
Here.
Mike Fullerton.
Here.
Jean Reed.
Here.
Kimberly Sutton. Here. Marcy White. Here.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion second for approval of the agenda.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Barnhill.
Yes. Item number 3, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for any citizen to comment on any matter related to the city of Newcastle that is not on the agenda. Not reminding potential speakers that all speakers shall clearly state their name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, with only one speaking opportunity. Council members will not respond to comments or questions. The mayor may end comment period at his discretion, and prior authorization is required for distribution of materials or to approach the council. This time is any citizen comment. Seeing none, move to item number 4, consent agenda. If any member of council desires any item to be removed from the consent agenda, and addressed individually? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 4, consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Motion second for approval of the consent agenda.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Carl.
Yes. Item number 5, discussion of possible action on any item removed from the consent agenda. Be no action on that agenda item. Item number 6, project report on Ridge subdivision drainage remediation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joel Dixon. I'm the interim city engineer for the city of Newcastle. Wanted to give you a quick update on the activities that we have as far as the drainage remediation for the Ridge subdivision. This project we kicked off at the end of September, or excuse me, at the end of 2022, back in the fall of that year. We contracted with Civil and Environmental Consultants, CEC, to complete a drainage remediation design in order to mitigate stormwater runoff in the Ridge subdivision, which is in the south part of the city off of Main Street, Highway 62, on the east side of the highway there. We, in the summer of 2023, we had the design engineers complete their 90% construction drawings. They submitted those for review by city staff, as well as the drainage report associated with this remediation. While we were in the process of reviewing the work that they had put together to make sure everything made sense, conformed with our ordinances, etc., that's when we discovered an existing detention pond on one of the lots located north of the subdivision, so an off-site detention pond. This was actually thanks to the LiDAR contours that we had purchased earlier in 2003. So as we and the contractor were looking at the contours and trying to understand the results of the drainage analysis, etc., we noticed that there was this off-site pond. Which makes a big difference as far as the hydrology of runoff flowing into this subdivision, and it has an impact on the overall cost in the city's favor. So the fact that this offsite detention pond is there is going to save the city quite a bit on the cost of constructing this project. Unfortunately, we had some access issues. There were some delays to get onto the property so that we could properly survey this offsite detention pond. We were finally able to survey it last month, and as a result of that survey, the contractor, the engineering contractor, is working on redesigning the drainage remediation plans as well as updating the drainage report. We expect the final report and plans to come to the city in the next few weeks. And it is expected that once we have the final plans in hand and everything meets our ordinance, our standards, etc., we hope to have this out for bid by the end of the spring, maybe into the summer of this year. So it has been a long time coming. I know there has been a lot of interest, especially from the residents of the subdivision, to get this remediation design complete and get it out to bid. One other note, due to the overall cost, right now, the preliminary estimates are around $800,000 for this project. I do want to stress that that is preliminary. That is not the final estimate of cost from the consulting engineers. But due to that cost, we are going to break this project up into 2 phases. So phase 1 is what we hope to take out to bid later on this year. Phase 2 will be later on in the future as the finances and budgeting come together for this overall project. But we are looking forward to getting the design wrapped up and having this project ready, hopefully by the end of this fiscal year.
I'll add to it. We do plan to break this up. We had thought about breaking it up in 2 pieces, basically. But it may be that we break this project up even, divide it even further. My goal was to try to have some of this work completed in this fiscal year, because the money is available at this point. However, I don't think engineering and bidding is going to let us do any kind of work on this project, and have anything completed by the end of this fiscal year. So likely, if we do anything at all, it's going to start in 24-25 budget year.
Which is what month?
July. So I'm not real sure yet. Joel and I have been talking about this. I'm not real sure just yet what the best way is to break this up. We probably need to talk to CEC more and look at the different pieces. I'm sure they can help us decide, this will be the best way to phase this in or whatever that may be. The folks in the ridge have waited an awful long time. That's the only thing that I don't like about this. But with so many projects coming up over the next couple of years, budgeting is going to be very, very tough to try to accomplish this in short order. We're going to have to spread it out over a couple of years. Hopefully no more than a couple of budget years, maybe 3, depending on how we can split this up.
Okay, in the analysis CEC is doing, is there a ranking? I know there's lots of areas, well, there's some areas that probably are more impacted than others. So, and I guess that's what you're talking about. They could rank, be sure they rank the impact it's having on residents there. Take that into account when they're ranking which needs to happen first.
Right.
Get the most bang for our buck.
Yes.
To start out with.
Yeah. Something that will do the most good up front.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll be working on that, and Joe's working really close with CEC on a lot of our road projects, not just this bridge, but several things that they're doing for us right now. And just to kind of stay on this same thought, things that are coming up in 24-25 already, what we're already discussing is paving May Avenue from 16th, Southeast 16th, all the way to 32nd. 2 miles worth of paving, hopefully widening that road to some degree. We'll have to obtain some easement, see if we can acquire some easement, but that's one of the projects. The Walker Street Bridge will likely be one of the bridges, excuse me, will likely be built in 24-25. I think that's getting dangerously close to finally being finished as far as engineering. But that one bridge is, $400,000 or $500,000 project. And then we also have the ongoing engineering on Country Club. North Country. Jeannie gave me a lovable when I said that. Anyway, North Country Club, the engineering is still ongoing for that project. That was going to be a tough one.
Is not just, but you're talking about the widening from
The construction and the cost of that. Right now, they have an estimate on that of $4.9 million. So, but there's a lot of road projects, a lot of water sewer projects, things of that nature. But we're trying to balance it out and spread it out the best way we can to get as much done as we possibly can.
So unless there are any other questions, that concludes my update.
Thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate it. Item number 7, discussion of possible action recommendations of the Planning Commission. Item 7A, public hearing discussion and possible action on Planning Commission recommendation for conditional use permit for commercial disposal well for Patsy and Nighthand, trustee of the Juanita Griffith Family Trust, Charter Oak Production Company LLC, Juanita Saltwater Disposal Number 1, located in the southwest quarter of section 27, 9 north, 4 west, in Meridian, McLean County, Oklahoma. Property location approximately 1/2 mile west of the intersection of Southwest 24th Street and US 62, then north on East Road, and right at the Y to the existing location, Newcastle, Oklahoma. Case number UPOR number 2023-013. This item has been continued based on a request from the applicant. Make a motion we can continue this item to our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Motion to continue.
Motion second for continuance.
Mike Pollard.
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 7B, public hearing, discussion and possible action on planning commission recommendation to approve application for rezoning from A agriculture to E3 residential estates district for Apple Construction LLC on property located within the northwest quarter, section 2, township 8 north, range 4 west of the Meridian, McLean County, Oklahoma, and adoption of ordinance number 963. Property address generally located in the east of South Main Street, south of Southeast 32nd Street, Newcastle, Oklahoma. Case number R 2023-013.
Good evening, Council. Janae Greenlee with the Newcastle Planning Department. This item is R 2023-013. It's a request for a rezoning from A General Agriculture District to E3 Residential Estate District for Apple Construction LLC, approximately half mile south of Southeast 32nd Street on South Main Street on the east side of Main Street. Here on the left side of your screen up here, this is an aerial. You can see the outline in red. This is the proposed new preliminary plat and the request for the rezoning. Right south of that is existing east the ridge. And you can see on the right-hand side, it is zoned general agriculture, and the ridge below that on the south side is also E3. This is straight rezoning. This is 29 lots that meet the E3 minimum lot area requirement of 27,000 square feet. The surrounding zoning in this area to the north is general agriculture and as well. The south is E3, like I stated. To the west across Highway 62 is actually Blanchard, and its current zoning is ag. And the same thing on the surrounding land use. Agriculture to the north, which is one single family dwelling. To the east is vacant ag land, and to the south is residential single family, and to the west again, Blanchard, vacant agricultural land. There was not a need for a land use amendment. This is concurrent with the existing future land use map. So there is no reason for or requirement for a land use amendment. There was a couple people that showed up from the Ridge, the Planning Commission, that had concerns that this development would cause, exacerbate any of the current drainage issues. The applicant's representative did speak with them, Kendall Dillon from Craft and Toll. He will work with them and has said that any issues that would arise, but they have 2 detention areas on this 25.7 acres. That will take care of the detention for this development. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of R 2023-013, and staff does support this request for rezoning. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very consistent with what is adjacent to it.
And I know this is a zoning topic, but is that development, will that exit, only one entrance and exit from there is on 62?
That is correct. Yes, they do have an emergency access easement on the far east side connecting to the ridge on the south side for emergency access only. That meets our fire code requirement.
I don't have any more. We will move to sample this time.
Is this existing concrete?
Are you? Oh, you're looking at the plat.
No, that's the
You
next
must be
item.
looking at the plat. Those are existing.
Okay. All right, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
There's public comment concerning this agenda item. All right. I did have an opportunity to speak to the Planning Commission chair this afternoon. He's not able to attend tonight, but we want to make sure that I and the Planning Commission have full support of this application. So I thought it was appropriate for these properties. entertain a motion.
Motion approved agenda item 7B.
Second.
Motion second for approval item 7B.
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White, yes, Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 7C, discussion of possible action on adopting the emergency clause of ordinance number 963.
Motion approved agenda item 7C.
Second.
Motion second for approval item 7C.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White, yes, Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 7D, discussion of possible action on planning commission recommendation to approve preliminary plat of Whispering Pines.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joel Dixon again, interim city engineer. So Whispering Pines, as you heard from the rezone, is a 25.7 acre E3 residential estate development. It will have 29 single-family lots. As we mentioned earlier, access will be provided off of South Main, Highway 62. The shape of the parcel, as you can see, is somewhat unique. Due to its shape, the entrance to this proposed development will actually be approximately 530 feet north of Southeast 37th Street, which is the entrance to the Ridge subdivision. That's less than the 660 feet that's required by section 153.045 F3 in our ordinance. So we will need to the developer will need to seek a variance to that portion of our ordinance in order to move forward with this development. We recommend reducing that minimum distance between subdivision streets opening onto an arterial street to 500 feet in order to accommodate this unique situation here. There will also be several stub outs, as you can see, provided to allow access for future development if it does come to pass. This is in accordance with our ordinances and is planning engineering best practice. So we appreciate the developer working with us to accommodate those.
And where are those at on that?
So we have this stub out here, which will have a temporary turnaround, and then we also have this stub out here. So if there is development further to the north, it will allow for that future connectivity.
But in the interim, there will be a cul-de-sac there that will
Yes,
still fit fire trucks.
Yes, sir. So we'll have the eyebrow here, we'll have turnarounds, and then there will be a temporary turnaround there as well. There's a well pad site here, which really precludes the development of these two lots for any kind of residential building. So the turnaround will sort of encroach onto those on a temporary basis, and once that pad is remediated and they can plat those lots for development in the future.
So it is an old wellhead.
It's currently a well pad. I don't know if it's abandoned or not, sir, but there is a well site there.
It appears to be currently operational.
Yeah, I see a pump in the picture.
There's a pump jack and tank battery there.
Yep.
But
So yeah. Now whether that pump jack is still running, whether it's actually pumping anything, I couldn't say. But yes, that's something that the developer has addressed in their plat notes as far as those two lots are concerned, because we do have 150-foot standoff from any well sites in order to do any residential development.
That property line goes right up against property line for our water tower. The water tower just south of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do have a water tower down in the ridge, yes. I'm not sure exactly what that lot is. One of the other, again, due to the shape of this lot, one of the other variances that is required in order to complete this development has to do with our block length. So right now, our maximum block length is 1,000 feet. But again, because of the L-shaped nature of this particular parcel and the placement of the stub out here on 36th Street, we need to increase the maximum block length for this particular development to 1,175 feet. So that's the second of the two variances that are required in order to bring this development into a reality.
The implication of that is that like addressing
It has to do with addressing, also has to do with connectivity and just, allowing for, we don't want 2 mile long blocks that create sort of a drag strip kind of a situation where.
I was trying to figure out what that meant. You don't want to go too far without having no access.
Right, without having some sort of connectivity to break up those blocks to allow, people to get from block to block, whether they're in a car or on foot, bicycle.
Learn something every day. Did not know that.
Yep. So,
The
yeah,
neighborhood makes more sense now.
and that of course provides alternative routes as well. So if your primary means of
Yeah.
routing is blocked for some reason, and it becomes especially important for emergency services.
Sure. Okay.
Drainage and detention will be designed such that the runoff from this proposed development will not exceed pre-development flows. I know that's a major concern that we have, especially adjacent to the ridge. But the developer's engineer did provide a preliminary drainage report with this preliminary plat. They are accounting for the post-development runoff and ensuring that that post-development the runoff from this location will not exceed the pre-development flows. In fact, my understanding is that they plan to over-detain as much as possible in order to assist with any drainage concerns that could be going on to the south. The developer and builder of this particular location is also a builder in the ridge. They own several lots and are building houses down there currently, so they are intimate with the issues faced by the ridge, and they definitely do not want to exacerbate any of those issues because it will ultimately impact them as well as their neighbors. So that's in accordance with our ordinance as well. There are 3 primary drainage basins. There'll be one to the west that sort of runs along the road. There'll be one in the center here where we have a detention pond, and then there'll be another one here on the east where there's another detention pond. There's no access to public sanitary sewer for this particular development, so all 29 lots will be served by private on-site sanitary sewer systems. That will yield a density of 1.1 septic systems per acre or 0.89 acres per system. There is an existing 12-inch water main that runs along the east side of Highway 62. Because this particular development runs approximately along the quarter section line, an 8-inch water main will be necessary to serve the development running east and west. A 6-inch main is planned to serve the remainder of the development here on the east side going north. A parkland dedication requirement of 9/10 of an acre is required in accordance with our ordinance, and the applicant plans to meet this obligation by paying the fee in lieu of, which is allowed in our ordinance, should be approximately $11,600 fee in lieu of for the parkland. Everything with the preliminary plat meets our ordinance requirements with the exception of the 2 variances required. The first variance is to section 153.045, paragraph F3, reducing the minimum spacing between subdivision streets opening onto an arterial street from 1/8 mile, which is 660 feet, down to 500 feet. The second variance is to section 153.056B, increasing the maximum residential block length from 1,000 feet to 1,175 feet. Staff recommend approval of this preliminary plat. It was also recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. Pending your questions.
Well, I always appreciate the assertion by, the developer that, they understand the significance of drainage and that they realize how significant that is, and they assure us. It's always a mystery to me. What can we do as a city? What's in place to make sure? Because you can prove, I wouldn't be able to tell whether it's no more a year from now than it was before, but What does the city have in place to make sure that happens?
So our primary means is through our ordinance. So our ordinance is written in such a way that it utilizes engineering best practice to set forth the requirements for determining what the pre-development drainage and runoff calculations are, and then what the post-development runoff calculation should be. And through a drainage report and analysis that is completed by a licensed professional engineer and submitted to the city for review by myself as also a licensed professional engineer, we review the other engineers, the consulting engineers' report, make sure that it conforms properly to our ordinance. Oftentimes, I do send it back for revisions because they have made assumptions or utilized other means and methods that aren't necessarily outlined within our ordinance. But ultimately, we compare, based on these engineering calculations, what the development, pre-development flows calculate out to be, what the post-development flows calculate out to be, and ensure that those post-development flows are less than or equal to the.
So you're standing in the gap. You stand in the gap.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, I put my professional license on the line every time saying, yes, this is correct.
I can't speak for everyone, but I have a feeling I can speak for this council that we feel a lot more confident now than we were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that we're getting better at assuring that. And that's what I want to continue to assure, that our people understand that we don't leave it up just to the developer. You promised us you did it. Did you do it? And we as a city have experienced that where that didn't happen, but we have things in place now to ascertain that, right?
Yes, sir. We definitely trust but verify, and not just on the calculation side. During construction and before we actually accept any of the infrastructure that these developers are constructing and saying, hey, we're done here and we're ready for this to become city property, we go out there. Myself, I know staff from the planning department, our city inspectors, many eyes go out there and verify that what they said they were going to build is actually what was built. And we have seen with some recent developments, Coachella is one that comes to mind, where the developer did not install what they said they were going to build, and we had them revise their plans and change it and tear stuff out and reinstall so that it was built correctly.
Good, because there are some people who write my name inside the mud on the street that comes in their neighborhood. So,
well, and what we've had before, the Ridge, those plans were engineered plans that were approved by the city, and were accepted, and then there were a lot of changes made by the residents and by the builders after we'd accepted those engineered drainage plans. And that's very difficult to control once somebody builds their house out there, and what used to be a drainage ditch, they fill up, and then the water runs across the road from their yard and down into their neighbor's yard. And so, that's been a difficult situation where we approve engineered plans and we accept those improvements, and then there are alterations made after the point of exception or acceptance that we have no control over. So that's something that we are going to have to find a way to better control that after the fact, because what we have approved, what we've accepted is those engineered drainage ways. And once you start altering those, they're no longer engineered. And so that becomes a very big issue.
confident we have more things in place now than we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So
I am as well.
I think something that would be, until I started doing this, I never really thought about when people start modifying their yards and doing things, how it could affect the neighborhood as a whole or their property. Maybe an educational piece we occasionally throw out there in social media or in paper or something just to say, did you know, these are things you need to consider. People may not know now whether they read it all, but I think it's a good publicity piece maybe to write an educational piece on how it could affect things, because I think some people genuinely don't know. I know there are times when people don't care, they do it anyway, but there are people who, if they knew, maybe would keep it in mind whenever they
And it's especially a problem for our neighborhoods that don't have curb and gutter.
Right.
So where we have the bar ditches and
Again,
in
that's
the
a
yards,
perfect piece of it, right.
that is especially a problem because a lot of people say, "Oh, it's difficult to mow, it's hard to maintain.
Fill this in.
I want to fill it in or
Yeah.
whatever." It's unsightly, and perhaps not realizing that is
Right.
part of the public drainage infrastructure, and that by doing that, you could be causing additional problems. Another way to Councilman Reed's point that we are continuing to improve is we are also conducting annual maintenance bond inspections on all of the developments as well. So many of those bonds last 3 years, and so for those subsequent 3 years after the infrastructure is accepted by the city, we are going back to make sure that it's holding up properly and that it's being if there are any maintenance issues that need to be addressed, we can utilize those bond funds instead of having to utilize city public funds.
Right.
The problem we got into with the bridge, which is somewhat of an exception, is they did not build them the way they were engineered and approved. And we mistakenly accepted them, and they weren't built according to the engineered plans. So that's why we're going back into the ridge and spending an inordinate amount of money, is because we accepted them without verifying well enough that they had been built to plans, and they weren't. Had they been built to plans, we wouldn't be having the problems we are having right now on the ridge, or near as bad. We still had a lot of people that filled in the ditches and caused some issues, but that would be minor compared to what we're dealing with now. But the city mistakenly accepted those improvements that were not built as they were engineered.
And Mayor, I know I delayed a little bit, but I just wanted all that to come out because I really know that to be the case. And
Yeah,
it's kind of an assurance on our part. All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Joel on the preliminary plat? Anything motion?
Motion approved in item 7E. Second.
Oh, sorry. Is there any public
Sorry.
comment concerning this agenda item? I'm sorry, forgot. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
Motion, sorry, 7D. Second.
Motion is second for approval of item number 7D.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes. Item number 7E, public hearing discussion and possible action on application for zoning for PUD plan unit development. PUD plan unit development for Windermere Newcastle Development LLC, located in the northwest quarter of section 15, Transit 9 North, range 4 West Indian Meridian, McLean County, Oklahoma. Property address is southeast corner of the intersection of Northwest 16th Street at North Country Club, Newcastle, Oklahoma. Case number R 2024-001. Applicant has requested a continuance of this application. I will make a motion to continue this to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion second for continuance.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Marcy White. Yes. Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 7F, discussion and possible action on planning commission recommendation for adoption of ordinance number 964. Amending chapter 154, planning and zoning, section 154.093 H4A, off-street parking, loading and access regulations. Access to streets, maximum number of curb cuts to allow additional driveways for large estate lots.
Good evening, Council. Janae Greenlee with the Newcastle Planning Department. This ordinance amendment came about, just a little bit of history on this. We were receiving several applications for additional curb cuts to accessory buildings in the state law zoning designations. So somebody builds a accessory building to the setbacks, and they want to have a secondary drive. Our ordinance is a little bit limiting by the way of that you can only have a secondary drive in residential districts if you have a circular drive. So you can imagine across the frontage of a E3 or E1 lot, you have quite a bit of distance, and to make a circular drive is a little bit extenuating on the applicant and the cost. And then you deal with landscaping and trees that have been there for a while. And so the Board of Adjustment suggested that we bring an ordinance amendment forward. As you can see here on the screen, this is the 154.093 off-street parking, loading and access regulations. and for single, two-family residences in all zoning districts shall be permitted curb cuts for driveway access to streets as follows. Maximum number of curb cuts is 1 curb cut per street frontage. And then here's where the ordinance amendment comes in on number 2. 2 curb cuts on the same street frontage for a circular drive on an interior lot. In E1, 2, and 3 zoning districts, 2 separate curb cuts may be permitted without a circular drive and shall not be closer to the property line than the district's side or rear yard setback. That's the basis of this ordinance amendment, to allow that additional drive without a circular drive, attaching those and meeting the setbacks for that accessory structure. Everything else is remaining the same in this ordinance. Planning Commission did recommend approval with a vote to 4-0, and staff does support and recommend approval of this ordinance amendment to Chapter 154. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good deal. Something we found an issue and corrected it. That's great. Is there any public comment concerning this agenda item? No, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 7F. A second. Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Comment.
Yes. Item number 7G, discussion of possible action on adoption of emergency clause, ordinance number 964.
Make a motion to approve 7G.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 7G.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton. Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Comment.
Yes. Item number 8, discussion of possible action regarding drainage issues on Northwest 35th Place in the Country Club Estate subdivision.
Hang on just a second, sir. Give the council a chance here to discuss this, and they'll call you up if they need. So this item is one that, quite honestly, the city's been looking at and talking about probably for at least 18 months, last 18 months. Drainage issues on 35th Street, it's on the north part of the Country Club Estates subdivision. And the reason that we discovered these drainage issues, we did anyway, was because of concrete road panels that began to break up, crack, was undermining, things of that nature. So looking at this further, we looked at the preliminary plat, we looked at the drainage report. We actually took a camera out to the site and TV'd the north side of the roadway, which all of that has been filled in at some point there's tin horns underneath the ground. And they're all different size tin horns, not properly banded together. And I mean, the pictures I sent council and was exactly what our street department found when they took the camera out there.
Is this 35th Place or Terrace? Is it the north road or the south road?
North.
North. Okay.
Yeah, very north.
Okay.
And those culverts are under the driveway or just a continuous?
They're in our easement,
Okay.
in the drainage easement, which was platted originally with open drainage ditches.
Okay.
And I have our street department superintendent here as well. He was working for the street department back then when this subdivision was built. It was open ditches to begin with. When and why these open ditches were filled in, when the tin horns were put in, the city really doesn't know because we didn't approve anything on this. When homes were built out there, when the original home was built, the original road was built, the street department would inspect roads. The one inspector the city had would inspect the homes, and that was pretty much it. Today, our street department assists with the engineer, but the city engineer will go out and actually look at all the drainage, look at everything, and our inspectors that we have, and go out and look at the drainage on the lot, look at the drainage, the city easements, right-of-ways, things of that nature, to make sure that they're operating properly. In 2013, we had a tornado that came through and destroyed most of that neighborhood, a lot of it.
Yeah.
When those homes were built back, drainage was not touched. Drainage was not part of inspection by the city. It was homes and the structures out there. So we have an issue here that, which you will hear from some of the homeowners in Country Club Estates here in a little bit, that they believe that, well, I'll let them speak for themselves. I'm not going to tell you what they believe because I don't really know. But they're concerned or that the city has some responsibility in this, and perhaps we do. That's council's decision and council's vote. I'm simply providing a background of what we know as far as the paperwork, the documents that we have from original, the preliminary plat, for what our street department has actually worked on, to where we're at now and what has been installed out there without the knowledge of city inspectors or approval or anything of that nature. So, and we do have a drainage problem. It's like I said, it's causing road issues for the city. It's also causing issues for the homeowners in their yard, because there are some areas in some of the yards that are sinkholes, basically, where that has come up through the ground. So, like I said, one of the property owners is here. Your name?
Chuck Perry.
Yeah, Mr. Perry. If council, if you want him up now or you want to ask some
I'm
questions?
okay with that, but.
Let's ask the
Yeah.
questions first. And
Okay.
Get
Hang on just a second.
So I would think the way that you would expect the drainage to eventually go down to the detention pond all the way to the west there.
That's correct.
And those culverts that you're saying, they're covered up, they're buried,
That's correct.
and so they're not visible.
Correct.
Is there a drainage ditch there as well now?
No, it's basically flat ground across
Oh.
the tin horns.
So no culvert under any of the driveways, because there's not need, because there's no ditch, right?
There is a culvert under the driveway.
Under each driveway?
And I'm not sure that it's each one, but most of them I believe there are. And the tin horns connect as it goes down the ditch line, and it connects to those tin horns underneath the driveways. We had installed, or the city made the developer install a crossover tin horn. As you go down to the west and it curves, the street curves,
Yeah.
there's a crossover where it would go into that drainage and then into the pond on the other side. And somebody or whatever, whoever did it, connected those tin horns to that crossover horn, which is the city's.
Yeah.
Which also causes a problem. We've had sand washouts and things of that nature down on that west end. I've seen sand down there myself, at least a half inch deep on the roadway, last summer or summer before last.
I'm probably the only one too slow to catch it, but, I mean, the tin horns are connected together, but it's not like a French drain, is it? Are they perforated, or where the water come from that goes, what were they intended to transport down?
Whatever water came in at the very top of the hill.
Yeah, so at the
Yeah,
top
so
of
it goes all
the,
the way down there, but then doesn't do anything.
Doesn't pick
further.
up anything along the way.
Okay. That's
at the top of the hill on the north side, on the curve, on the radius there is what was supposed to be a vertical drain box, goes into these horns. Well, that vertical drain box, when we looked at it 18 months ago, whenever it was filled in primarily. Everything was leveled off, or mowing and weeding and things of that nature could be done easily or more easily. On the other side of the roadway as well, on the west side of the main road that comes in, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of that road. Stanton. There's also a drain box on that side that was supposed to catch water, flow underneath Stanton, and then cross over, go into these tin horns. And that wasn't taking place as well, because on that side is where the undermining began on our roadway, on that very first lot, as you turn west.
Yeah, I don't want to confuse the issue, but there's no sign of a similar thing happening on the South Road?
There's not. No, we drove the whole neighborhood. I don't,
Thank you.
And the video that you provided, it shows that there's all varying sizes of pipe there
yes,
with no connections between them. They just are stuck in the other pipe.
just stuck together is what, yes.
And is that part of what's causing, I guess, maybe those are blocking up and then backflowing out and undermining things?
That's,
I believe some of it is that, and you know, the inlet up top, it appears that it's not all getting in there, it's coming down the road and on the sides into the openings and it's not capturing all the water that's coming.
Just from the video, you know, it seemed like there was all kinds of sizes, all different materials, all kind of, just kind of whatever each individual homeowner may have put in, or the builder, whenever they did it, I don't know. Okay. All right, any other, questions?
yeah, and I will say, I'll say too that myself, street superintendent, whatever, we're not saying current homeowners installed this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But somebody did prior to them, and it was something that is, to my knowledge, the city has never approved on any subdivision that requires open drainage ditches, or has called for that and been approved with that.
Typically on an E3 or a half acre or E3 development, where there are no open ditches, anywhere we have that, we require curb and gutter, correct?
That's correct.
But with no curb and gutter, we've always required open ditches.
Yes.
It's one or the other.
One or the other, yeah. To handle the water. Okay. All right, any other questions before we have that? All right, sir. Barry?
Yes, sir. Well, if you hook me up here real quick, so.
No, my uncle doesn't, my uncle got caught on it, so he didn't go back. On the next street.
Thank you.
South,
So,
on the south side.
On the north side. They filled in the ditch on that too.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So our subdivision was developed and built 14 years ago by Metroplex Property. Okay. Back then, some of the things that were done in the neighborhood weren't quite kosher, and I think the Ridge was developed about the same time. And so I think you're seeing a lot of the same issues that subdivision had that we're having now. So we got this letter from the city saying that they weren't going to do any more. They were just going to fix things that were damaged or things that were probably going to be a liability, but everything else until the homeowners or the HOA. Now I'm on the HOA and I'm also a homeowner. Until we corrected the problem. All right. So what I did was I put this together, this kind of flow through this with me. If you'll, these are responses to the letter. There is all of the drainage is going down the street, but it's running off where the grass meets the curb, or the grass meets the road. There is no curb here whatsoever. Okay, so the erosion is basically happening in between where the street and the grass meet. Now the problem with that is that the grass is higher than the road. So even if we come back and we put culverts in or bar ditches, how's it going to get over there to it? That's the issue. Unless you go through every house in there and you scrape every one down to the level of the road and it rolls over into that bar ditch. Plus the angle of the street is not, it doesn't pie like this. It swoops. And so a lot of water is running down. So which has created another issue. Well, I'll go through here. So we're not disputing that the plot plan says open ditches. I mean, it's clearly there. We're not going to dispute it. We don't think though that a lot of the bar ditches are causing the erosion from the road, because there are some places where you got a sinkhole on the one street down on 35th Terrace Now, you asked about whether it's on the south side of 30th or 35th Place, and there's 35th Terrace.
Right.
And we're having the same problems on 35th Terrace where there are open bar ditches. So there's a mixed bag here, both ways. So on the plot plan, there's no sign off from DEQ. I've got a copy of it back here. I don't know whether they were supposed to sign off on it or not. That's just what I downloaded from the site. I don't know if it's needed or not. There are 41 homes in this subdivision. 20 homes have some sort of underground drainage system inside. Okay, the underground drainage system was approved by Henry. He approved mine. When I was the builder on my house. I came out, Dennis Lee drove down the road one day and said, hey, I'm building a house at the end of the street. We want to connect all these tin horns together. I need you to put in a tin horn. Oh, okay. So I go to Henry and say, hey, do I need to get another inspection for this? For the tin horn? Henry goes, no, whenever you pour your footing, just leave it uncovered. I'll take care of it. Be good to go. Henry comes out, looks at the tin horn and said, it's fine with me. Cover it up and by your footing's fine too. Off we go. All right. So all the underground drainage systems on all these houses were put in by the builders. They weren't put in by the exact homeowners. And some of these houses are on their second and third owners. So how do you go back and you tell somebody, these people sitting back here, how do you go tell them that they have to pay for something that the city inspector possibly approved, the builder that they don't even know who built the house, who did it, and now we got to fix it. Now they've got to go bear the cost of tearing it up and fixing it. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong here. I'm just saying we've got to, as a community or a group council, we got to figure out how do we do that and how do we make it look good? Because some of these houses in here, there's $1.2 million, $1.3 million, $1.4 million houses in there. And you come in, you tear all this up. What does that do to the property values? Where's the issue there? So keep going, just to give you some more examples here. Okay. So we had a flooding problem. Water was coming, there's a field on the east side of Country Club Drive, if you're familiar. This entry in the picture on the left is looking from that field to the west. All right. So all the water was running off of the field down 35th, and before it could do anything, it was running right down onto all these houses in the backyard. My backyard flooded. I'm the second house down on 35th Place. My house flooded. So the city comes in and they put this curb at the top, and they pushed all the water down the streets. So when that happened, all that water that was actually going to run down between the houses in the neighborhood is now being diverted down the street. We didn't do that. The city did that.
Is
So
that on Stanton? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, Stanton.
Okay.
Okay. And so you can see that's 4 different angles of that. This is the repair. This is before. The picture on the left is the top of Stanton, turning south on the 35th Place. I'm sorry, west on the 35th Place. You can see where everything was cracking, so on and so forth. This even buckled because there's no dirt below it. I mean, all the sand, everything is gone. This is what effects it has had at the bottom of the street. This was taken before they made the repairs. This is the house on the far end of the street. Now this street on the left, on the right-hand side. This is looking out her front window. This is what she sees. There's all this mud. And we've had to go in there twice now and dump her with a skid loader and get rid of all the sand. That's the sand that was underneath the street. Okay? And it's coming through the middle of the street. So this is the repair on the left that the city did last fall. You can see on the left, it's got new concrete and you've got one sliver of old concrete going up. This was the recent rain we just had 2 days ago. This is water gushing up through the crack. You know what? It's not sealed. And then this is taken yesterday for all the dirt and stuff that's come out of this brand new, I don't know how many thousands of dollars to fix that road. Didn't fix it. Just put more cement over the top of a problem. And so that is the issue. Now, everything that's above that is open ditches. It's open drains. Everything below that on 35th is closed drains. So if the problem is higher than the road, how's it supposed to get over the hump on Stanton and come down? So, you know, our answer, well, wait a second. Sorry. We'll go back a couple here. I get too many. Okay, so I just finished that one. Okay, this is looking west down 35th Terrace, which is the street south of 35th Place. These are the cracks that are going down. These are open ditches. They're not closed. There's no tin horns in here other than the ones that were put in by the developer. If you come down, this is on the right-hand side halfway down. The water's coming down. It's never going into the ditch. It's running down the street and it's dumping down into these cracks, going underneath the street on Sarah, and then coming up on this side. And you can see this is the opposite side. This is the same crack I just showed you. Coming down here. These are all open. The tin horn right there. That's the crack that's going into. And then this is undermining everything here and it's cracking all of this and eroding and pulling that concrete away. Problem was it was supposedly fixed, it was supposedly patched, but it wasn't done very well. It's just somebody put some goop into it and said, well, that's good enough, let's go. And that didn't really quite do it. So these pictures, this is at the top. Well, take that back. The two on the left, those are on Sarah Drive. That's in the cul-de-sac off of 35th Terrace. Those are cracks in the street because the street is crowned. All the water flows out. Those are all open ditches. There's not a tin horn one in there, and all of that's doing it. This is at the top of Stanton Drive, looking down where I showed you a minute ago, looking down the street. These are all cracks. There's no tin horns. There's still water coming off the field, and so forth. So that's part of the problem. So this is the one we were talking about. You mentioned the sinkhole a minute ago. The picture on the left, it's at the bottom of 35th Place, 35th Terrace, I'm sorry, where it curves. There's the hole. That's where it's going under the street. It goes all the way under the street until it gets to the other side of the road. I'll show you a picture now. City came out a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and just filled it full of dirt. Well, then we got the rain. This is what we got today. This was taken yesterday. And then we got dirt building up on the side, on the south side of the road. That is the sinkhole. Tin horns coming under. It should be there from the city, right? This is concrete with tin horns coming out of it that has dropped at least 3 inches because all of the dirt, everything under it is washed away from the sinkhole on this side. So that's part of the problem with this is that, you know, honestly, oh, one more. So there's a bridge. There's a retention pond that's down at the bottom. There's a bridge there. Water flows through to the other side. That bridge is already cracking here, up there, and right here. And if this bridge goes out, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses and 2 empty lots on the other side that have no way to get back up unless they go up to the farmer on the north side and go out his gate to get out.
Is that
So,
35th where it turns into Abbey?
yes,
Okay.
that's where it goes over the top of the pond. So that's the problem. I mean, it's not just, okay, we got tin horns. Yeah, well, we do. No, and we're not disputing that. The builders put those in. Every house on 35th Place on the south side, on the south side of the road was built by Richardson Homes, except for mine. Okay? And so they all have tin horns all the way down. One of them we called the tornado lot was never even rebuilt. I mean, the footing's still sitting there. I think the city came out, at least 10 years ago and ripped out the slab, which, you know, that was great, but that didn't help the matter. But so you got a problem there. So, you know, there's really not much you can do about all this. You know, you have to fix the top of, I think we have to fix the top of 35th Place. and 35th Terrace to keep the water from undermining the street and running back down. You know, can you run curbs to keep the water from flowing back over? That's an option. Maybe that's an inexpensive option as opposed to ripping up streets. You know, we're open to ideas, but I think the reason why I'm here is because it's not fair for these homeowners to have to rip out something that a builder put in 10 years ago, 15 or 12 years ago, and at their own expense, which is what this letter from the street department says, that it's at their expense. And that's not fair. So, you know, we just need it fixed properly, and we need things done. And again, we'll work with the city. I mean, we know there's some corrective actions as an HOA that we need to take. And we found those spots down around the pond. There's some places that are eroding. And that's our job. That's a common area. That's our job. We'll take care of that. But the streets, that's not our forte. And we didn't do anything to do it, to cause it. Now I did personally. I built my own home, put the tin horn in. But I thought I was doing the right thing when I got approval from the inspector. So, you know, when it's damned if you do and damned if you don't, I mean, it's one of those situations. So anyway, that's all I got. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to, or any of these people back here. Craig?
I think one of the
That's
things,
getting me, anybody that speaks will need to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record. So we can have a record of all the individuals who speak.
My name's Craig Smith. I'm a resident there, and I'm also a builder for about 34 years and built several homes in Newcastle. One of the things that I think the engineer could even attest to, I don't know who you said you sent somebody out there, the angle of the streets, if you want to relate it to a roof pitch or whatever, it's about an 8 pitch, about a 15-degree angle streets. If you go out there, I've taken videos and have several videos of when it rains and stuff. The water, because of the angle of the streets, can't make it to a side culvert. I mean, it's humming it down the street. It's you'd have to see it to understand it, to see how the water will not actually run off the sides of the street. And like you said, there are several homes in there that do not have tin horns. They have the original culverts, and it's doing the same thing. It doesn't really matter where it's at. In fact, the cul-de-sac turnaround areas are a crown cul-de-sac area, and they all have culverts like you say it's originally designed to have, and they're cracking. So the street design coming down 35th Terrace where the sinkhole is, the entire street design comes down. It is angled opposite to the actual drain area where it's supposed to go. So the water collects on the opposite side because it has to build up to about 4 or 5 inches to even make it across the street, make it to the drainage area, the flow, the open flow on the curb. So that's what they went and put the dirt in the other day. But I think unless you see it, you have a misconception of that it's just this flat area that we didn't, you know, the culverts and stuff aren't working properly. If you look at the radiuses at the top where you actually brought the curb, the city put the curb in, they stopped them about 20 feet short on each one of them, that if you would have taken it on around the radius, it would have cleared where the cement joins that radius. The tin horn is, it's actually going straight down there in about a 3-inch gap. In fact, I was in the board in 2019 when I called the city and told them of an issue, and it was about a 1/4-inch gap at the time. And they come out and spread some cement in a couple areas and did a little repair. And now that same area is about a 3.5-inch crack. So the water's not ever even making it to the sides to even go down the culvert. So I just wanted to explain that the visual effect is that the road is really slanted and it cannot even roll off there actually. So
So you said slanted, which direction is it slanted again?
from the east to the west.
East to west. Okay.
Any other questions? Like I said, we're just looking for some help to try to figure out how to resolve a lot of this before the street falls apart and keep these homeowners from having to pay for everything. Thank you.
Looks to me, as most of it's starting at Stanton Drive on the top side, especially up on that east side. Looking at Google Map here on the street view, the water coming off those homes are just coming right on top of it. All that drainage is just coming right on top of the road for the most part. Again, I'm not sure where some of these drains are supposed to be draining to. Some's been removed, some's been filled in, ditches, it looks like. All the way down, even at the top of Stanton Drive on the east side. Especially right there at the intersection where you come into, I guess it'd be 35th Street, where it comes into the subdivision. This looks like it's just coming right on down.
Excuse me, am I allowed to say,
What's up?
that I've actually got a deal with the water running.
Yeah, I mean, come approach the podium.
It's just on my phone. I mean, you can see it individually, but there's 6 or 7 videos that actually show the water running down the street and hitting the crack where there's an actual tin horn. And I mean, he's like,
Yeah, sure. Let me see. What?
it shows you where the water is just coming down the street. And this is a tin horn, and just like we described it should be in there, this has not been touched. And the water is just coming down from the right into the crack.
Where is that at?
It's a radius on 35th Terrace in Stephen.
Okay, so that's opposite of where we're looking.
That's, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's on the
mid
south-
street.
south side. Yeah.
I've got 8 different videos of the water running in different places.
Okay.
And when you were saying the road was slanted east to west, which road were you referring to?
The whole neighborhood,
I know.
you come in to the main Stanton, you'd have to go left or right.
Right.
35th Place
Yeah.
and 35th Terrace run just
Okay,
straight
so-
down.
Well, you're calling it slant, you're talking about that street goes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it slants. It's
Because earlier, it sounded like you were talking about the water was gathering on one side of the street, like the street itself was also slanted.
No, that's at the bottom of 35th Terrace where it comes down towards the pond area. And it makes it, original, there's a cutoff curb with a washout, a
So
flume.
anyone who's driven out there realizes it's on a remarkable side of a hill. So the slant, I get it, up the road. And, so physical nature means it's always gonna be a problem, like you said.
Well, it's not always gonna be a
Is there any way to
problem.
mitigate that? Is there any way to?
Well, my opinion, I'm not an engineer, but I have been doing this a long time, been around several neighborhoods. I think with some, sectional curbing around the radiuses and stuff to keep the water from ever getting to that radius and forcing it down into the, tin horn. There's probably 3 or 4 main areas in the addition that have damaged roads at this time. And like I said, I think, with those few repairs and curbing in certain areas, I'm not talking about the whole neighborhood, but just in certain areas to keep, because, I mean, I don't want to step on anybody's toes or anything else. The original design of how it's designed, there's no way for the water to go off into a culvert. The streets, or you get a hose up there and start the hose running,
Right.
it's running down the street.
Right, that's what I was following up on. So is there any way to mitigate that?
That's what I'm saying. If we go back down and put the curbing in certain places to keep that water from hitting, what it's doing, it's hitting on the side so much when it's going down through there so fast, it's eating away on the side of the street and allowing 2 and 3 and 4 inch gaps. And then it goes underneath so like I say, I don't think it would have made any difference if there were no tin horns there or not, because the street angle does not allow for the water to go. In all things being equal, if you had a street that's halfway flat and stuff and the angle of the street, it would send it over. But when you tip something as angled as this is, it will not allow the water to do anything but rush down. the
Mayor, I
wall.
wasn't trying to troubleshoot it. I was just trying to get an understanding of if, you know, if the water is rushing down the street, is it one of those, it is what it is? but if there's some way to still to mitigate that, because that street is gonna be, I don't even know how to get it out of there in ice. So, okay, so I wasn't trying to solve it, but, you helped me with your.
But like I say, I think, not to paint a dire picture, we gotta have all of our street, that's not what we're saying.
Okay.
There's certain areas, of the neighborhood that need repair.
Okay, good. Thanks.
And I think if you work, I'll be happy to meet whomever, we will, and show, I've spent a lot of time researching this and looking, taking videos and watching water run and everything else. I think if we build some radius curves, I'm talking about 40-foot sections to take it on around the radius, 10, 15 feet before the radius, 10 or 15 feet after and through the radius of the curve, it'll protect the erosion of water from just hitting. Because like I said, if you've never seen the neighborhood, you can just imagine when it's raining how fast that water is going down through there. So, yes, we can do some cleaning out of some tin horns and stuff, but that's not gonna be the
But
issue.
removing the tin horns too, like on those yards, it's not gonna make a difference either way.
And I'll be honest with you, when I actually bought a lot in there at the bottom by the pond and rebuilt at the bottom. And, when I was rebuilding, I was told I had to put the tin horn, hook it up to the next person next to me before they would give me a permit to go any further. So, like I said, I love working with the city. I build homes here. I'm not trying to say anything, but the inspector that looked at my house 7 years ago required me to put a tin horn in because there was an existing one next to me and there was one down at the bottom of the bill. So I had to actually go buy 50 foot, 12-inch tin horn and put in. So.
Good. Thank you. Sorry.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The main concern I would have with anything, I think we've learned enough over the years that we're not gonna pursue anything without it being engineered.
Yeah.
Because I may think I'm an engineer, but I need to play one on TV.
I'm not an engineer.
And just looking at the easements that the city has, so we've got drainage easements on either side of those streets coming in there, and then there's also a 20-foot wide drainage and utility easement running between the lots and the houses between 35th Place and 35th Terrace. And I was trying to follow along a while ago when Chuck was talking about the water coming down 35th Street, coming down 35th Street and then coming around and going around the corner. Is that correct? With the heavy rains.
So the 35th Place comes down on the north side.
Well,
turns on to Abbey.
I was going back to when you were talking about the water from across the street coming down. Was that coming down 35th through the entrance to your addition on 35th Street?
Okay, no, it's coming across Country Club.
Correct.
Onto 35th.
On the 35th.
And then it comes in to Stanton.
Correct.
Stanton goes north-south, and then the water hits that curve and then turns and goes straight down 35th Place to 35th Terrace.
Both of them.
So.
It doesn't have your choice.
Right, and that's what I was trying to figure is, do you think that the bulk of the runoff, like I said, anything will have to be looked at by an engineer? Do you think the bulk of the issue is water coming down 35th Street or water coming off of the houses that lie on the west or the east side of Stanton?
I think the majority of the water is coming down the middle of 35th, hitting that wall, and then, there's two houses right there, one on each side of the entrance, and, water could be coming from there, but they're both open culverts. So that's not, if it is, it's coming in, but there's, when water starts coming off that field, I've got video, I can show you, I've got the house above me, the retaining wall, and then my house. I've got water shooting out 5 or 6 feet into my yard before they put that curve up on 35th. So there is
water coming into your neighborhood is what's not having a place to go.
Not a place to go. And now you're forcing it down and around both streets. And that's just adding to the problem. It was probably a problem there before anyway, but now you've multiplied it.
Well, I'm willing to look at anything that we can to help do this. And one of the things, the city right away on Country Club, you know, if the ditch on the east side of Country Club is not catching that water, that's something that we could look at getting that ditch cleaned off or cleaned out so that water isn't coming across Country Club.
Okay.
But another thing, like I mentioned, you know, right in line with that, with 35th Street is a 20-foot wide drainage and utility easement that goes between each of those lots.
Okay.
And so, you know, I'm just kind of.
You're talking about in the back?
Yeah.
In the back of those
Between
lots.
Okay, between 35th and.
Yeah, you can
Show me.
see this.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. But right here, there's a 20-foot utility and drainage easement that goes straight in line with that.
Okay, so now this is a curve that runs right here. This water has to be this or this.
Yeah.
When this curve wasn't here, these yards flooded all the way down.
It wants to go this way.
Yeah, it was downhill. That's the top of the hill.
Right. It
And,
is
and,
slow.
and honestly, all of our backyards back there, they all slope to the back.
Mhm.
And then we have, like, I have
French drains and they float to the back because that's just the natural flow. And then they flow down and they go into the retention pond. But if you take that curb out, then who knows how much water is going to come in that neighborhood down the middle.
Well, I think if you do the curve out, you have to establish a drainage channel between the houses.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's just, I'm just throwing out alternatives.
No, I totally agree. I
Yeah.
think that's why I think getting an engineer out there to look
Right.
at what's the best feasible thing to do for the neighborhood would be great. That's really all we're asking is not to do anything. Hey, let's figure it out.
Right.
You
You
know?
know, I'll go back to the point. Yes, Henry was the city inspector. Henry doesn't approve drainage plans, nor does he approve amendments to drainage plans that have been engineered and approved. And, and so that puts us all in, I've got a couple of concerns. I mean, I'd be willing to kind of look at options to see what was available, but I still have a concern of, you know, those inlets are all cleaned out at the top of the hill. Based on the video that the city manager provided, a lot of those underground drainage pipes going on either side are not in very good shape. And, you know, they're either collapsing or they're in pretty bad shape. Eventually, those are gonna have to be replaced because they are deteriorated significantly. So that's gonna be an issue. Those still reside in the city's drainage easement. So we'd have to figure out whose responsibility it was to replace those, as they fail. Because if those fail, if they plug, if they collapse and then it causes backup that then flows out of those connections that aren't interconnected. We've got one smaller pipe slid into a bigger pipe. Then that's gonna cause some significant issues as well.
I think part of the problem with the homeowners in the neighborhood is that they weren't the ones who initiated that smaller pipe and the bigger pipe. They just inherited a problem by purchasing a house.
I think that
They
Ken
thought it was
Richardson and the
okay.
Dennis Lee deal.
Pardon me?
I think it was the Ken Richardson and the Dennis Lee deal was what
I'm not gonna say a word. Keep my mouth shut on that one.
But I mean that because they're the ones that wanted this to happen, from what I understand, and started something that never should have been started. So
He ain't gonna help.
It's up to you, Mayor, but I'd kind of like your street superintendent.
oh, absolutely, yeah. John, you wanna? Yes, sir. Let us know your thoughts.
Thank you, too, man. I agree with some of the things that's been said here. Like you talked about the edge, the water's getting in. That's like some of the problem right there. It's coming in on the sides. Original plan showed open ditch to let it flow past and get off the road, but it's catching there on the grass line and getting on, from, I guess, yard, manicuring and such. So, it is a steep fall off, but, I don't know, any questions you want to be more than willing to answer, but everything's kind of been said.
What are your thoughts on some of the ideas proposed, some curbing to keep that water going down the middle of the street rather than having the opportunity? You know,
I think
Vice Mayor doesn't think it's a good idea.
I agree. I think we're still creating the roads becoming the ditch again. And with it being concrete, you're looking at it keeping all your joints sealed. You know, and it's impossible to keep the joints sealed all the time with the movement of the road and the earth and everything else. So I'm in favor of the open ditches.
The biggest issue, if we put curb on top of that right now, yes, just like John said, it's gonna drain right down the road. What water falls in the road and what comes off the houses and the driveways and such. But what's happening though is if you put a curb up there, the landowner's gonna have to come back and fill in, or you're gonna have a little low spot. There where there's a low spot, that water's gonna work right back underneath that pavement and create washing it out again. It's just gonna undermine the road again and the driveways and everything else that's all the way down through there. Looking at this, there's driveways that's been eroded out, there's the road obviously has been eroded out. But majority of the ditches have been removed from what I'm seeing. And where there is ditches, I'm not even sure, this goes back to when I requested, the driveway permits where we sized the pipe for the driveway. So that we wouldn't have an 8-inch pipe, where we need an 18-inch pipe. Those are the situations that we got here again. We got too small of pipes, maybe for some of these driveways. And I'm looking at the north end of here, or the east end here up on the east side of Stanton. There's an inlet there, but I doubt it very much if it's picking up any water.
And that's what I see is the inlets aren't capturing the water to get it in. Because
it's not shaped right.
We're talking, there's a lot of falls, so it's coming over and it's maintaining on the road and eating under the road.
And that one spot right there where that inlet is where all the damage has started.
It was originally designed at the top for the ditches to be large enough with enough swell to catch the water to maintain it on the side of the road off the driving surface. And it's not doing that anymore. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have a question, because I totally don't understand. So if you have open ditches, do you still have the tin horns?
Yes.
In the driveways.
In the driveways, but you don't have tin horns all the way across the property.
Right.
Oh, only under the driveway piece?
Only under the driveway.
Yeah, open ditches to feed that.
Okay.
So.
Because it's not the water that falls on that house, even just in that little area, is gonna roll to the edge of that road and go underneath it again.
Okay.
So without engineering it, is your opinion that if each of the streets had open ditches on the proper side and that center ditch down there, that water would flow properly, or?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it needs that instead of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't speak
And what little ditches they have are so shallow, they're not gonna hold enough water anyway.
To keep it directed in.
To keep it in there.
Okay.
It's gonna blow up like at the first one at this corner house right here.
Well, I think it's time for us to propose an engineer.
1620
We're guessing.
on 35th place. That ditch is gone and it's just rolling up against the road and the driveway. And I get that the driveway's washed. Yep, the driveway's just as bad.
So I'll ask city engineer or Janae, our community development director, either one. Had this been proposed with the underground drainage like it was built, what type of material would be required that underground drainage be constructed out of? Concrete pipe or?
So the only time we would use underground drainage structures is if we were going to curb and gutter and have curb inlets, and that would be reinforced concrete pipe.
Okay.
Looking at the photos, through Google Earth, and I haven't had a chance to go out here and site visit, but looking at the photos in Google Earth, I'm looking at the original drainage study that was conducted by the developer's engineer back in 2008. It's very obvious that the infrastructure that was designed is no longer the infrastructure that's in place. I can see where the structures, the culverts that were supposed to carry the water underneath these various streets into the open bar ditches, you can see where they are almost, in some cases, they're completely filled in. In a lot of cases, they're mostly filled in. And that drainage swale that you identified, Mr. Mayor, there between those two lots, I mean, that was supposed to be a drainage swale, almost a channel to carry water between those houses. So, you know, I'm not surprised that you're having drainage problems out here because the infrastructure that's currently in place does not match what was originally designed. Not necessarily because it wasn't installed correctly, but in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing, because it hasn't been maintained properly.
It's hard to know, especially with the rebuilds. It's hard to know if it was ever there, but it's hard to know. A lot's happened in that neighborhood.
Right.
since it started.
You know, and our ordinance does require that open drainage structures, bar ditches, swales, etc., be maintained by the property owner. So for closed sewer systems, storm sewer systems, that's the responsibility of the city. But for open storm sewer systems like bar ditches, drainage swales, etc., our ordinance does currently call for that being the responsibility of the homeowner or the property owner to maintain.
If it was there when they rebought it. I think that's part of the issue, is that they resold and after the tornadoes, which complicates it.
That's certainly up to y'all's interpretation of the code.
You know, and that's kind of why I get back to, the drainage pipes that are in place will not be a long-term solution. There's already failure, there's already issues with those. So no matter what the overall resolution is, that those aren't something I believe that can long-term serve drainage needs for that area. They're just not the right material. They weren't engineered. They weren't installed. They weren't. And to no fault of probably anybody in this room. That being said, if something doesn't get done, it's just going to cost everybody a whole lot of money. Hold just a second, Chuck. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what council's thoughts are. I don't know. All I know is that when the city accepted this roads, it had open ditches. When it accepted the roads and the drainage. So, yeah. Any other questions for Joel while we got him up here? So Mr. Parrish, you want to come back up to the podium?
Thank you, Joel.
So I just wanted to address one of the things he was speaking about the, with the, between 35th and where you showed me that picture where they come together. If, whenever that was originally designed, I don't think anybody took in the amount of consideration, the amount of water that was going to come off that field. Because before that, when the water was coming, it was a complete washout. It was a flood, a washout. So even re-putting something back in there would have to be tempered because it can't handle all the water because all it does is erode everything. I mean, you should see the gullies that are in between the two houses in the backyard. They're probably 2 feet deep just from water coming off the houses. You imagine what all the water coming off the road would be like too. So again, I don't disagree with the fact that there was probably supposed to be a drainage vein or whatever between those houses back to back, but nobody took into account the water coming off the street. And in that field up above, it just was rain, it come right on down, no problem.
I don't know without looking at the drainage map if he's got the drainage map.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that yes, the drainage area that they analyzed goes almost all the way to the North Canadian River. So it's this area highlighted here is the entire drainage area that they studied.
Right.
You know, and this is.
Well, I've actually got pictures that prove the difference because I've got a whole flooded backyard and water this far coming into my back of my house, and I've got a video of it. So I don't know what but nobody accounted for, you know, if it comes a downpour or a really heavy rain, that whole thing washes out. So just.
Has it done that since the curb's been placed?
Yeah, it's been fine. We've not had any issues.
It's diverting the water around to the.
It's diverting the water around.
It just created another issue.
It created the problem we've got now. Actually, that's what it's done because it makes the stuff run down. And like John said, you know, everybody's kind of got manicured lawns, so they're sitting about this deep below the the street, they're not all the way through, but when the water runs down there, it just erodes it away. My mailbox, 2 feet on each side, I could go out there when it rains, I can see water just gushing underneath down there. So that's very true, but again, I just don't think that somebody's accounted for all the water between the streets. But once they put that in, that solved that problem.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I agree, we need some, somebody with a seal to give us something.
This is all concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I got 2 foot. It took a while for me to talk.
I think we have one opportunity to see if we can mitigate that flowing into the property to begin with somehow, but
Right.
otherwise, this is our first time to hear it. If I heard it 100 times, I don't have enough knowledge to know without a deeper study on it and consulting.
This is getting to be a common problem in some of our neighborhoods that I see, and where somebody's put in a pipe and tied a pipe and never asked city permission for those, and then 10 years, 3 years down the line, we got an issue.
It's still not over.
I mean, I've got the same issue across the street from me, and I'm on my 4th neighbor in that house.
And I didn't even know this was gonna be part of the discussion. That's why I get back to, I would never know, right? Like, I think, you know, we can't fix it all, but we definitely can do some proactive things to at least try to mitigate going forward as we work on issues we currently have. And I'm like, gee, I don't know. I bow to those who know engineering because I don't. Or if we hire somebody or whatever, I don't know.
Basically what I'm seeing is just a general washout on the pavement underneath.
I do wish that's an opportunity for us to notify everyone, showing a map saying these are drainage ditches
that should not be removed.
Well, it should be probably a part of the, I don't know, building permit or something. I don't know, some way to memorialize it so that, you know, we have this issue, a lot of places where even though there isn't a drainage pipe put in, they just fill the ditch in, then a flat yard, and then it rolls over the road and goes down in their neighbor's front yard and then fills their garage and.
Yeah, like mine.
Yeah, so,
May I ask you a question?
Yep.
Yeah.
What was your name, sir?
Yeah, my name's Tom Green. I'm a resident in Country Club Estates. I'm on the west side of the creek, so I have a open culvert. So, however, I need to be able to leave that neighborhood, and the only way to do it is up 35th Street. And I was here throughout the whole meeting today, and I was listening to the problems that you have over on the ridge. And what I heard people say was that at the ridge, it departed from the original plan as well. And there's an engineering study being done there, and there's some proposed corrective action. So why would we be any different than the ridge?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, with the ridge, the city is bearing that responsibility because the city went out, the city inspected the roads and the drainage structures as they were constructed, and we accepted them. We didn't happen to do a very good job because they weren't built as the plans were engineered. We accepted what was there, which wasn't what was engineered. And so that was our fault because we went out there and we accepted those roads and those drainage improvements, and we made a mistake by accepting something that wasn't built as designed. With Country Club Estates, we accepted those with open ditches as they were designed. And then it was changed after that fact. That's the difference there because we did the official legal acceptance of those roads and the drainage improvements. When we did that, they were built as engineered and we accepted them. And the ridge, we just screwed up because we accepted a lot of things that they weren't even close to being built as it was engineered. And that was a fault. That was something the city just messed up. And so that's why we went back and felt obliged to go back in and either build them as they were engineered. And what we ended up doing is getting an engineering report, or we're getting an engineering report to build them probably better than they were originally designed. But, you know, coupled with the fact that they didn't design, or they didn't build a lot of them to how they were designed before we accepted them. It's on if you've been to the ridge, it's on a pretty good slope too.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the upper homes, when they built those homes, they just graded them flat. They completely filled in the ditches that were there. And that's where it just runs down from one to another, down people from their front yard, the backyard, rolls down the hill. And so, you know, that is something that, yes, in those instances, we could go back to those homeowners and say, you got to fix that. But that's a minor problem, because the major problem is our main drainage structures that we accepted weren't built as they were engineered, which is different than Country Club Estates. These were built as they were engineered. We accepted them, and they were altered after acceptance.
Wasn't ours likewise? Weren't they also, did they not depart from the original plan?
The homeowners.
The homeowners did in a few instances, but not the main drainage structures, which were to carry the bulk of that water in the ridge, were not built as they were engineered. But we went ahead and accepted them, and we screwed up doing that.
Well, when the folks in Country Club Estates got occupancy permits, is there no responsibility for the people doing the inspection for the occupancy permit to verify that everything's in proper order, or?
No, they're not, they're inspecting typically the structure.
Just the structure.
You know, they don't inspect, didn't at that time.
They do now.
They do now. They didn't at that time inspect the drainage.
Okay.
You know, we've had lots of incidents because it's easy. When the builder comes in and they build the home, they make everything flat and smooth. Mm-hmm. And they don't look at the drainage plans, mm-hmm. Unfortunately. That were approved. Anyway, that's kind of a long answer to your question.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we at least get somebody out to fill the hole on 35th Terrace at the bottom? Because somebody's gonna fall in it or something done. I mean, some kid's gonna be walking the school bus in the dark in the morning, and they're,
yeah. And I don't know what the answer is. Whether we put some gravel in there, it won't wash out for a while.
Something won't wash out the first rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely get out there and get that handled. We're actually waiting on some locates out there to do further inspection on that.
All right, and so, and I don't like the back and forth, so if you want to speak, please come to the podium, so we can kind of keep a record. This is all being recorded, so, just so we can keep a record of everybody that speaks and what they said.
I know we gotta get going, but.
Yeah.
Craig Smith again, the gentleman here, I'm sorry.
Mike
Fullerton, okay. This has not been touched, and this is a video of what you're saying the culvert should be. And this is water. There's a tin horn up there. This is a culvert ditch. That drops about 5 to 6 feet over. Push video, and you watch how that water runs. That's the
that's the trick. I call it the trickle. That's it's.
Well, I didn't want to go stand out in the pouring rain.
I know, but what has happened is that grass is just about that much taller.
Well, that's
than the road.
This is what we're trying to say is that the steepness of the road, physics won't allow it to go off to the side. It's coming down and eroding away.
I mean, honestly, John and them can come in there and grade that, but it ain't gonna be very pretty.
I mean, you were making comments that there's not any culverts or anything.
Well,
there's probably more than half the neighborhood's got.
I can show you what I got here, sir. This here is where it starts, is what I was talking about. Even at this little point right here, where that comes through and drains through, I doubt very seriously that is even capable of carrying what amount of water comes through there. I mean, without doing calculations.
If you go look at those yards, that's from the Country Club Estates. It's flat going back there.
But you can see, but as you can see here, this is a pipe that somebody has installed sometime. Because you can tell where the dead grass is.
Right, that's 35th.
Yes.
What I'm trying to say is on 35th Terrace.
There's other issues too there. On the I think it's the south side of it.
What I'm saying is it goes down the road on 35th Terrace at the bottom. It actually slants back into where the Cinco is.
Yeah.
Where it's supposed to go across the road and take the drainage spillway it actually curves back around and pulls to about 3 to 4 inches before it crosses the road. It has to build up a pretty good sized pool before it crosses the road.
I wouldn't be surprised if this water right here, this is 35th Terrace. I wouldn't be surprised if this water here isn't coming down, rolling right across here.
There's a cul-de-sac, Tin Horn comes out right to the right there, right past that mailbox to Tin Horn.
Right there, yeah. But the problem is this water, as it comes through here, goes underneath this road. And it starts
curving.
Yeah, but it will deteriorate that road. The problem is getting the water away from the road. And that's
Like
what-
I said, I think when they put the curbs in, if they would just went around the radius, it would have diverted the water. It's fallen in between the cracks of the radius. The way they did the tin horns and ran them underneath the road, it's developed a crack up there, so the water is following the curb you put in and dumping right into the crack at the radius at the top of the street. And it's just pouring into those cracks. And that's the one I called the city back in 2019 and told them it was just a little crack at the time, but the water started.
So, this is the pipe that goes underneath there. At this point, this is the one that goes underneath. And
You see the radius I'm talking about?
yeah,
With the
yeah,
split and
I got it right
the-
here.
Yeah.
That pipe goes underneath here. And what's happening is, like you say, this water is either A, coming across, this water's coming down here, draining across. It's all affecting the road.
All right.
And
I got,
So at this point, I'm trying to figure out something, I don't know what,
What, like, can we have our city engineers go look at it and maybe come advise us with what might be next steps?
we'll ask the city manager what his thoughts are on that.
So go ahead.
Well, what are your thoughts, Council Member White?
I was asking, should we start with like our city engineers to look at it and give us some first thoughts on what they think before we go out and do anything else? Like, I think Joel said he hasn't been having to go out yet and even view it. I mean,
This is gonna take a more extensive study, not just an in-house.
well, yeah, no, I was just thinking first step.
My thoughts are get an engineer study, see what it shows. It's gonna cost some money, I mean, to be able to get this done. But then my thoughts are after talking with Joel about this and after talking with Janae and street superintendent about this, is ditches need to be restored. I mean, that's, and looking at all the contours here that we're looking at on our mapping system and everything else, the 1-foot contours, quite honestly, this does not show the problem to be the Field Across Country Club according to the contours. Now, you get a heavy rainfall, yeah, you're gonna get a lot more water, naturally. But it's not the bulk of the water, according to contours, that it would be coming off of that field across the street, because it shows that field either ponding or flowing toward the south. By these contours. It's from the houses in the neighborhood, and you have such a fall. I have no idea what the fall is. I could look here. But the fall from the top all the way down to the bottom to that pond, well, you're probably looking at 20, 25 feet, maybe more. Yeah, that's, you get some water flowing down through, yeah, you're gonna have some problems, absolutely. But I still think that, I mean, this, as Joel said, this was engineered with open ditches. We have a drainage report that was originally done by the engineer for either Richardson Homes or whoever it was at that time that did all the original neighborhood, the original subdivision, and it shows open ditches. It was proven by an engineer with a drainage report, this will work. Something changed that caused it not to work. Okay, so, is it the curb that runs that keeps the water from flowing, keeps it from flowing between the backyards of those homes? Potentially, because that channel looks like it's supposed to go all the way to the pond. Here on our mapping system, it shows that. Is it the tin horns that are now in place that were not approved by the city, was not part of the original plan? I think it's probably a combination of everything.
You're
That's
talking
causing
about
the
the
problem.
continual tin horns, not just the ones under the driveway. Is that what you mean?
I'm sorry?
The continual tin horns, not the ones just under the driveway?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure I understand.
Yeah.
Got
All of the
details
10
tonight.
ones that run all the way across every one of those yards
Okay,
needs to be removed.
and it
I
just
mean,
be a,
yes, just an
layman's
open
term.
ditch.
It needs to be a soft ditch. Is what it
yeah,
needs
not
to be.
drastic, but enough to hold a decent rain.
It needs to.
Okay.
Well,
Then if we
you'd have
need
to know
to-
how much water to stay out of the ditch.
Right, which
Num-
is why.
Number one, engineered stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
where we need to go first.
okay. Well, I made a motion for that. If you want one.
Basically from Country Club to the edge of the house, the westernmost house on the south side of 35 Place is about 60 foot of fall. Lordy. Yeah, based on the contours. It's a pretty good.
So, before we pay for an engineering study that may be pretty extensive, is there any, so if that curb was put in there that prevents it flowing in there, maybe someone could determine a part of that, open a part of that up to spread the water. It'd be nice if water could flow all three directions, both streets and in the middle of that. If you channel it all in the middle of that, it's gonna be a flood. If you block it off, it's gonna be deterioration. So that curb could be cut. If we installed it, we could cut that. Would the homeowners have to do something different, behind every one of those houses, or would they simply, is there still a ditch there?
That's exactly the point. It
Yeah.
depends on whether or not there's actually a drainage channel that runs back there now. I don't know.
There's
I mean, that's
landscaping right
private
up to the
property,
fence on
basically,
some.
so.
I don't think there is.
So before we agree to, I'm kind of liking what Councilman Reed said about not jumping on the engineering. Can we take a look at that before we make a motion to do that?
Well, that is a, as the mayor said earlier too, that's a 20-foot UEDE, which belongs to the city.
Right.
That 20 foot that runs in between those homes back there. So, I mean, we could actually take a look at that and see whether or not that is still open. Potentially there's trees, there's fences.
There's trees,
have
there's
no
landscape. I'm
clue.
looking at trees and landscape.
Let's ask for an internal report first, I would say, because even these gentlemen proposed some possible things that, so I don't wanna, I'd just like to have you and your team at least do a little bit of internal consulting for us and give us a little bit of a study, maybe engage the homeowners if you like somehow, but, and even Councilman Fullerton, who's got an eye, but do a little bit of internal look at it first and see if we come up with a proposed solution. It takes a major engineer. I mean, we're spending the people's money, and these are our people too. So, but just spending a ton of money for engineering, if it's not absolutely necessary, it would save the people's money.
And like was mentioned, it may be in all of the above. Originally, there was that drainage swell in between the lots, and if we can put some of that water there and not split it and force it to go down those 235ths. The bad thing is, there's some of the people sitting in this room tonight of some extensive landscaping within that 20-foot easement.
Yeah.
And,
Right
if I planted a bunch of trees and lots of other things, I wouldn't be too happy if they were torn up. However, it is in the city's easement.
It is, and that should have been on their warranty deed or whatever.
Right.
Right, well, that's true.
But, I'm for trying to find a solution, and in the interim, I don't know, our street department and city engineer can go out maybe there together and find best solutions to Band-Aid the issue until we can come up with a long-range plan. Maybe stop the infiltration as best possible in those cracks, ensure that any inlets to those existing piping systems are open, at least the water is able to flow into them. Not that that's gonna solve the problem, but, I agree with Councilman Reed. An internal kind of broad, 10,000 foot look at it would be something I think is a good start. So at this point in time, if there's no action on this item, staff will be taking a look at that. So thanks for coming tonight. Thanks for all of your discussion. Hopefully we can come up with something that's at least painful for all people involved. Item number 9, discussion of possible action to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Newcastle and the Plain County Assessor for use of aerial imagery provided through the county assessor's license agreement with Pictometry International Corporation with the city of qualifying political subdivision under the terms of the license agreement for such use.
This was actually part of the, mapping or the flight over the LiDAR and things of that nature that we did, about a year ago, and we were actually supposed to bring this forward, which I still think we did, although it couldn't be found in the minutes. I think we brought this forward. I think it was approved, although it couldn't be found. This is for us to be able to look at McLean County's flyover they do once every 2 years, where the entire county, and we can actually pull up Newcastle on this, and its aerial views from that. I think the cost of this was 17 for a 2-year period.
17,000.
What? It includes the plane flying over and taking the picture. And this is split between us, McLean County, Purcell, Blanchard. There's several that's involved in this.
Our cost would be 17,000.
Correct.
What photography are we using on our interactive system currently?
Can y'all answer that?
I think the latest aerial view that we have is 2019 is what it is. But this gives us access from historical data as well, from Eagle View through McLean County, as you stated, sir, from 2008. So we get historical data as well as up to 2024. In fact, they just completed the flyover from McLean County the last couple weeks, and they're processing that data currently.
I've no problem with, I mean, our data we're using now is just a couple, for our aerial photography has been a couple years old that we have on our city system, but, no telling when we'll get stuff. I don't know where we're pulling that from in the GIS, but, I have no problem with this. I'm a big fan of updated photography.
Well, so the changes.
Yeah.
Well, I believe these, whatever.
How would
I'm
we
sorry.
use that? What's our use of that? How will we use the result of this service?
Everything from permitting, looking at setbacks, looking at driveways, houses, accessory buildings, pools, easements.
Correct me if I'm wrong too, but isn't this, we can look at this in 3D as well?
That is correct. It
Yeah.
also, gives us 3D and
And
isometric.
So is flyover just a term? It's not is a satellite flyover or
It's plain.
plain flyover?
Right.
Okay, so much
Literal.
different than all the maps we use now.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, this mapping we've got now has a dollar tree on it open. So it's fairly.
And would this be accessible to our residents at all, or just internal?
I think it's
No,
in,
we would load it up onto our interactive map.
Oh, good, that's what
Yeah.
I'm wondering. Perfect.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have no problem at all. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 10.
Nine.
That too.
Yeah. We'll give you your shot at 10 in a minute.
Yeah, I'd like to amend my motion to a different motion. I move to approve item 9.
I'll second mine.
Motion second to approve item number 9.
I'll second it.
Yes.
Kimberly said yes. Yes.
Yes. Item number 10, discussion of possible action on approval to enter into 12-month renewable licensing agreement with Placer Labs, Inc. for chain level demographic and psychographic data and access to information from other major U.S. venues through the Placer Venue Analytics Platform, also known as Placer's Platform.
You gotta admit, there's some of the same language in there.
Sorry, psychographic, what in the world does that mean?
I don't know, but I need it.
Sounds kind of weird.
One of my ex-girlfriends.
But I know, right? We're gonna let Jean make this motion.
Chain. Yeah, chain level. All right, talk to us.
very, very, well, to make it real short story, it's data that provides us information that we can use for economic development.
Okay.
That's the short story.
Yeah.
The long story is it will look at, travel of people, where they shop, where they come from, where they go, people leaving our city, going other locations, what we're losing out of the city as far as sales and things of that nature. What is working best, what types of businesses are working best or appears to be from the data within our city, and surrounding areas. It looks at traffic counts. It looks at,
Who's shopping in our community?
yeah. well,
And
From other communities.
You can get heat maps to show what percentage of your people that are shopping at a certain area, where they come from. And
Asking
so,
for a friend, how do they know this?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
yep, it's data from tracking of devices.
Location. So anytime somebody turns on location services
Yeah.
on their phones, for whatever reason,
Google Maps, whatever.
it's available to any app out there that's using this.
And what's the cost?
15 a year on this.
15,000?
15,000 a year, and we did,
Can you get our money back?
Well, and it
Pay for
does
itself?
other things too, even, our events and things like that, we'll be able to more accurately see how many people are at our
Yes.
events, and then when they
And where they
leave an
come from.
event, or they leave, we'll be able to track where they shop, do they stop? And we talk about people coming to our town and they shop, but do they? We'll be able to actually have real life data.
I'm not making a
showing
motion
that.
on this one.
It's creepy.
It's creepy yet useful.
I can support
mean,
it, but I need someone else to make the motion.
It is. I mean, so many of the apps that we use, they track us. It is what it is. So we might as well be able to use that data. Mustang uses it. A lot of other cities throughout the state use it. And so it is, whether we like it or not, it is useful data that we'll be able to use to help our small businesses, potential business coming in, and just like saying, be able to see where
And
people
potential
shop and where they go.
These are annual costs. So,
So we don't like, we don't do it.
well, no, but you know, I know it's easy to turn those things on and never think to turn them off, but you'll be on top of that to watch it,
oh, absolutely.
obviously, to see if we, because those two items together, pretty good chunk every year.
Right.
And so, that sounds pretty
She
impressive.
didn't answer, but he said, can you get that back for us real quick with the.
I mean, there's not a grant for it, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm
He
not
wants to
We'll
know
be
when
able
the
to-
business move in.
I feel pretty confident that we can use this data as part of recruitment for businesses
I
that
think
will
so. I bet you're right.
more than pay for what it's costing us.
I do like the word now, psychographic. It makes sense. Now that I know.
Well, and potentially, and Jeanette had brought this up, we discussed it, potentially, we could pay for some of this out of NETA funds.
Correct.
What fun?
NETA,
Newcastle
As I
Economic
needed some
Development Authority.
Oh,
We need it.
gotcha.
This is familiar. I've heard this discussed before, but.
this actually just came up within the last, month and a half. We participated in 2 Zoom meetings, with Placer, and they went through the whole spiel with us, and it's pretty impressive.
Well, I think
What
we're
they
at the
can do.
point where we need the most of it.
I think they talked about this at Egg Calls before,
Yep, that's
a couple of years ago.
Lots of communities are using it, like Jeanette said, and they find it to be extremely beneficial. So,
And Marcy, we know that you shopped at Walmart 6 times last year.
Yesterday?
And return.
She returned.
No, I don't return it.
and you left Walmart and went to Sonic.
Yeah.
Got a super
Okay,
Sonic chili
and then
burger.
the car wash.
Okay, and then I went to the car wash, okay? That's really creepy.
Knowledgeable.
Creepy yet probably true.
I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the item 10.
I'll second.
Motion second for approval of item number 10.
Gene, Gene, go first. I will. Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. The thing about it is, they're doing it anyway. We're just
Yeah.
using what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, item number 11, discussion of possible action for authorization to implement a change to the city's hours of operation on a trial basis beginning April 1st, 2024. It's going to go to 12-hour days, 6 days a week.
3
right?
days a week. So there, we looked at, and I think I brought this up to council, last month or 2 months ago, that potentially we would be looking at a compressed schedule and doing the 980, or as the federal government calls it, the 549. 549 schedule. We looked at that, and a closer look at it, we just don't have the people to be able to cover everything that needs to be covered. Not big enough yet at this point. So we are looking at a 4 9s basically, and a Monday through Thursday, and then a 4-hour on Friday. And this is the schedule that most cities are going to. Mustang went to it back in 18. Midwest City, opened it up and started doing this schedule about a year ago. And there's some other cities around the metro that's looking at this. Doris gets all this information through this HR group that she's a part of. But I'd like to try it on a trial basis. That's basically what Midwest City done. Mustang did that as well. I was reading on their website and their documents that that's what they did to try it out. Make sure it's working for the employee, for the customer as well, before actually putting this into place. So on council approval, I would like to try it for a 60-day period, April 1 through June 1. If it appears that, we're not being beat to death, through our customers and whatnot because of dissatisfaction, then we can always go back 8 to 5. However, if you look at this schedule, we're talking about 7:30 to 5:30 primarily. There are some that would like to work 8 to 5:30, just do a 30-minute lunch. That's fine. We can do that as well. But if you look at that 7:30 to 5:30, we're still doing the 4 hours that we would not work on that Friday. We're adding an hour each day, 7:30 to 5:30 of City Hall being open. So the loss of customer service or people at City Hall to be able to serve the customers, it's not diminished. There is no loss of hours that we're servicing the customers, except that 4 of them have been removed off that Friday and spread across 4 days.
Friday afternoons aren't the most.
It's slow.
Yeah,
it's really slow.
Not when most people come in.
Because our school's out on Friday.
Yeah.
Now, the only issue the concern I have, and it's one thing that we deal with the federal government, is it sounds great to say, hey, I want that non-work day, or I want that, but you gotta show up.
That's what my.
You gotta show up at 7:30, and so our managers have a role in this to make sure that their employees show up.
Yep.
If they're supposed to be at 7:30, they gotta be at 7:30, and if they say, oh goodness, I'm just gonna take a 30-minute lunch, the manager's responsibility to ensure that, because what tends to happen is you have a good thing and it gets abused, and then you have disgruntled employees that aren't abusing it, seeing it not being addressed when other employees are abusing it.
Right.
So this requires a little higher level of management from our managers, and so I know that's something that you probably will be hitting on, but to maintain employee morale, this is help employee morale, be recruitment, those type of things. It's got to be administered, and
Right.
some people won't like that, but if you can't take a 30-minute lunch, then you're gonna have to come in at 7, or you're gonna have to get off of this. You have to do something different. So, but there's no way to get off of this.
Right.
Because it's across the board. So that's the only concern, is you gotta manage it. You can't let people start sliding in at 7:45.
Right.
You can't let them take the 45-minute lunch and those type of things, because pretty soon they're just working a 35-hour week. Well, another employee is working that true 40-hour week.
Right.
And that causes a lot of issues amongst employees.
Kevin, how do you describe the City Hall? Would it keep those hours too, or?
7:30 to 5:30. Now, there are some in planning that would like to work the 8 to 5:30.
On Friday?
Matter of
We're
fact,
talking on Friday.
it would be 7:30 to 11:30.
So City Hall would be closed for the afternoon.
Yes, it would close up at 11:30, and that would be across all departments.
Right.
Of course, not emergency services, but
So then the people who come in at 8 Monday through Thursday would then come in at 7:30 on Friday?
they would come in at 8 and work till noon.
So from noon on, we have nobody in our City Hall.
It would be closed.
Yeah.
Not on Friday.
The assistant city manager.
The main line can roll over to Kevin's phone after 12 on Friday. No, yeah, that doesn't give me a heartburn really. My first concern was what Carl was saying, and I'm glad for a trial, because I think that'll help to, see how it goes, see if there are things that need to be either addressed, and yeah, we can move forward, but we're gonna have to address them, this is what it's gonna be, or that doesn't really work.
Right.
How long a trial are we talking about?
60 days.
I'm supportive of it. I'm a little sensitive to City Hall being closed all Friday afternoon, but it may not be that big of a deal. In other cities, do they follow that pattern as well?
They do. Midwest City closes at 11:30. Mustang closes at closes at noon, I believe. They work an 8 to 5:30 schedule. And then the 8 to noon schedule.
But the emergency things would that you have access to emergency services.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So just someone wanting information or wanting to file for something, they just have to come in and wait till Monday.
Right. Now, as the mayor said too, on Fridays, it's usually pretty slow unless a utility bill deadline falls on that Friday, which is rare. But I have seen when I come in the morning, and I'm sure Jeanette has too, she gets there around 7:30. Now I get there around 7:50-ish. And I have seen people sitting in the parking lot waiting for us to open.
There's someone there by 7:30.
Yeah.
So they would like that.
Yeah.
Be a plus.
And then people try to come late of the evening. So that extra 30 minutes, people get off of work. They can make it there maybe by 5:20, but they just can't get there by 5 o'clock.
So City Hall would be open all 4 days,
Till
7:30,
5:30.
7:30, 5:30.
Which would, I'm sure that'd be appreciated by some, for sure. But yeah, you have your utilities, I'll speak for utility men, they're always on call, so they call the city emergency number, not emergency line. And if there's a water line break, you're still gonna have to have your water guys go out and fix it. So that's all the time anyway.
Well, I like it for the sake of employee satisfaction. That's what
Right.
we've been desiring here, to find things to make it a desirable place, and I like that part a lot.
There's just a lot of things that continually change. They continue to change to try to, accommodate employees and attract applicants. And it's, I don't know how much further employers have to go, but a lot of cities are seeing these different things and are implementing these things because we're all having the same problem. Of recruitment. And then some retention. I know some of the guys on the street department, the reason they keep working for the street department is because they work a 4-day week, 10-hour days. But of course we could never go that, nor the water department or anything like that. It works great for the street department, but that's about the only one.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
A motion to approve item number 11.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 11.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White, Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 12, city manager's comments.
Don't know how far really you want to go with. Kind of thinking about talking about a little bit about the meeting we've got scheduled now with. Or do we want to hold off on that?
You may want to hold off on that. No comment.
Wait, what?
Yeah, too late.
Item number 13, council member comments.
I was gonna ask that, but I forgot what.
Let's hold on.
It's that psycho whatever. Is what it is.
Psycho.
Any council member comments?
I do one comment. I had another person contact me about speed along the streets on the section lines, and I know that we plan on talking about that sometime. I'll let it do that for now.
I just wish I could get him to go less than 80 and fly by my house.
Well, they're wishing they could give them less than 82.
Item number 14, item 14A, discussion of possible action on entering into executive session permitted under 25 OS 307B1, discussing the employment, hiring, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or resignation of any individual salary public officer, employee, treasurer's annual evaluation. Item 14B, discussion of possible action on entering into executive session as permitted under 25 OS 307B1, discussing the employment, hiring, employment, promotion, demotion, disciplining or resignation of any individual salary public officer or employee, city manager's annual evaluation. And item 14C, discussion of possible action on entering into executive session as permitted under 25 OS 307B1, discussing the employment, hiring, employment, promotion, demotion, disciplining or resignation of any individual salary public officer or employee, city manager's contract. I will make a motion to enter into executive session with the city manager when called, the city treasurer when called, the city attorney, Chris, and I think that's it.
Second motion.
Motion second, enter into an executive session.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
Gene Reed,
Yeah.
Kimberly said.
Sorry,
Yeah, that was my fault. Marcy White, yes, Carmen.
Yes, we will take the 5 minute